Hey y'all, welcome to That Tennessee Feeling. I hope everybody's having a good week other than it being hot. Lord, it's hot, y'all. But I guess that's summer in Tennessee. I guess. I suppose. Ain't nothing we can do about it. And then, Lord, it's going to be a bad winter. It's been a bad winter, I guess, past couple winters. Oh, my gosh, I hated that one winter where it got in the negatives and then it snowed and then it iced and it snowed and then it just, oh, my gosh, that was a horrible winter. I don't know about y'all. It's one of those, like, I'm going to complain about the heat, and I can't wait for the winter, and then I'm going to complain about the winter, and then I can't wait for the heat, and it's just that vicious cycle we go through, but that's living in Tennessee. Thanks to anybody who still listens to this podcast. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I'm glad to be back on it. I'm glad to be doing this again. Don't forget to check out all the fun social media pages. Let's see. Lord, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I think that's it. I feel like there's just so many social media pages right now, I cannot keep up with them. Yeah. Because I know Facebook, there's like a page and a group. And then Instagram, I did not do Threads. Threads to me is just like a stupider version of X or Twitter. Oh yeah, there's a Twitter now. I did do a Twitter for That Tennessee Feeling. Check it out. Yeah, I don't understand it anymore. Like, everybody wants to have their own. And, but it's all the same. I don't get it. But I hope you guys are still enjoying the podcast. If you guys have any suggestions, you can reach out to me. That TN, T as in Thomas, N as in Nancy, that TN feeling at gmail.com. I love talking to you guys. Made some great friends through this already. By the way, I don't know if I said it on the last one, but again, it's awesome that the Vols won the baseball. I'm going to get it wrong. Whatever it is, the series, the college series. But then I'm still talking about how, Tennessee beat Alabama in football like 2 years ago. So, there's that. And then just Barry making all those trades for the Predators. Lord, they're looking good. They're going to look good this year. I think that's great if you're a hockey fan. Although my question about Stamkos from the Lightning, he was with Tampa 16 years. He was there a very long time. Did we just pay for a really good name? I hope that's not a wasted trade. I really do. Sorry, had to say that one. All right, you guys. Let's talk about something today on the very far corner of Tennessee, but it's very, very well known. I'm going to talk about probably the most well-known thing in Memphis, and I'm going to talk about Beale Street. And if you've not been to Beale Street, you need to go at least once. It's a fun street, let me tell you. Beale Street is a street in downtown Memphis, Tennessee, and it runs from the Mississippi River to East Street, and it's probably only about 2 miles. It's not that long, but it is significant, and it is fun, and it is rooted in the blues music. And you walk up and down it, there's just blues clubs and restaurants. And of course, it's a tourist attraction, much like Broadway is in Nashville. But it is great. They have festivals and concerts out there all the time. And I love it. I went down there and there's music coming out of everywhere. And it's just so much fun. And I actually dare say I kind of like it better than Broadway. I really do. I almost even like it better than Bourbon Street in New Orleans. So, why do we even have Beale Street? Well, Beale Street was actually created in 1841 by entrepreneur and developer Robertson Top, and soon named it later in the decade for Edward Fitzgerald Beale. And that was a military hero from the Mexican-American War. It was actually originally named Beale Avenue, but Beale Avenue just doesn't have the same ring as Beale Street. And when Beale Avenue was first built, I can't say that, Beale Street, it's going to be Beale Street. So when Beale Street was first built, the Western End primarily housed shops of trade and merchants who traded with ships along the Mississippi River, because, one end does end at the river. And the eastern part was, really nice suburbs, so, really nice houses, this is high end. And in the late 1860s, that's when many black traveling musicians began to perform on Beale Street, and that's really where it started to get its musical roots. And the first of these to call Beale Street home were the Young Men's Brass Band, and they were formed by Sam Thomas back in 1867. In the 1870s, the population of Memphis was rocked by a series of yellow fever epidemics, and I'm sure that rocked everywhere up down the Mississippi. And this really led to the city forfeiting its charter in 1879. So Memphis had a bad time. And I'll do a whole series on Memphis, but Memphis had some bad days. And of course, during this time, Robert Church purchased land around Beale Street, and eventually this led to his becoming the first black millionaire from the South. And in 1890, Beale Street underwent renovations with the addition of the Grand Opera House, later known as the Orpheum, which the Orpheum is really cool. If you ever go to Memphis, you got to go to the Orpheum. And in 1899, Church paid the city to create Church Park on the corner of 4th and Beale. It became a recreational and cultural center, and that's where the blues musicians really began to gather. And that's really, like, Beale Street kind of already had that bluesy background, but this is really where it really started to kind of come together. And this really became a major attraction to the park, especially when there was an auditorium that could seat 2,000 people. And speakers at the Park Church Auditorium were well-known people, such as Woodrow Wilson, Booker T. Washington, and even Franklin Delano Roosevelt. So people weren't taking notice of this area, and they were coming. Beale Street Baptist Church, Tennessee's oldest surviving African-American church edifice, was being built in 1869 and also important to the early civil rights movement in Memphis. In 1889, the NAACP co-founder Ida B. Wells was the co-owner and editor of an anti-segregational paper called Free Speech, and it was actually based on Beale Street before, unfortunately, it was destroyed. The presses were destroyed by a white mob. You've got to remember this is still the Deep South, and the Civil War has ended, but stupidity still reigns, unfortunately. In the early 1900s, Beale Street was filled with many clubs, restaurants, and shops, kind of similar to today. Many of them were owned by African Americans. In 1903, Mayor Thornton was looking for a music teacher for his Knights of the Pythas band and called the Tuskegee Institute to talk to his friend Booker T. Washington, who recommended a trumpet player in Clarksdale, Mississippi named W.C. Handy. Mayor Thornton contacted Handy, and Memphis became the home of the musician who created the blues on Beale Street. Mayor Thornton and his 3 sons also played in Handy's band. In 1909, W.C. Handy wrote Mr. Crump as a campaign song for political machine leader E.H. Crump. The song was later renamed the Memphis Blues. Handy also wrote the song Beale Street Blues in 1916, which influenced a change in the street's name from Beale Avenue to Beale Street, so officially changed it in 1916. And from the 1920s to the 1940s, Louis Armstrong, Muddy Waters, Albert King, Memphis Minnie, B.B. King, Rufus Thomas, Roscoe Gordon, and many other blues and jazz legends began to play on Beale Street. And this really, really got the style known as Memphis Blues. As a young man, B.B. King was billed as the Beale Street Blues Boy. One of Handy's proteges on Beale Street was the young Walter Fury Lewis, who later became a well-known blues musician. In his later years, Lewis lived near 4th and Beale, and in 1969 was recorded in his apartment by Memphis music producer Terry Manning. So Beale Street has just some amazing history, especially in the music scene, but especially in the blues. And it's really cool that this little 2-mile street has just so much history. Not only just in music, but just history in general. Of course, in 1934, local community leader George Washington Lee authored The Beale Street, Where the Blues Began. And that was the first book by a black author to be advertised in the Book of the Month Club. So again, more just exciting, great history from just this little tiny street. Actually, in 1938, Louis O. Swingler, editor of the Memphis World newspaper, which was an African-American newspaper, in an effort to increase circulation, conceived the idea of mayor of Beale Street having readers vote for the person of their choice. Matthew Thornton Sr., a well-known community leader, active in political, civic, and social affairs, and one of the charter members of the Memphis branch of the NAACP, actually won the contest and received 12,000 of the 33,000 votes cast. And Mr. Thornton became the original mayor of Beale Street, an honorary position that he retained until he died in 1963 at the age of 90. So that man held that position for a very long time, just out of this idea that to create more interest in this tiny little street. But of course, like everything has its ups and its downs, and Beale Street did fall on hard times. Back in the 1960s, Memphis went through some hard times, and that included Beale Street. A lot of businesses closed. Main to 4th is a actual national historic landmark, and it was declared so May 23rd of 1966. But, Beale Street just suffered like everywhere else did. On December 15th, 1977, Beale Street was officially declared home of the blues by an act of Congress. But despite this national recognition, Beale Street became a ghost town. There was a really bad urban renewal program in Memphis, and that basically raised buildings in the surrounding neighborhood, and a lot of buildings on Beale Street kind of fell, unfortunately, to this really bad program. And while they probably meant well and gentrification was trying to happen, it unfortunately did kind of kill Beale Street for quite a while. And unfortunately, sometimes that does happen, even to places that are well known. People mean well and they mean great, but you end up with, the best of intentions failing miserably and bringing worse to these areas. In 1973, though, there was kind of an upswing. The Beale Street Development Corporation was founded by George B. Miller and others as a racially diverse cooperative effort to redevelop Beale Street. They knew that this place was significant. They knew it was historically founded, and they wanted it to be brought back to its former glory. The corporation was selected by the city of Memphis to participate in the redevelopment of blocks of Beale Street between 2nd and 4th Streets. And they really started this in August of 1978. The corporation dedicated its efforts to the success of Beale Street project for the preservation of the street's history, and as well as the cultural development and the physical development of the street itself. They actually secured a $5.2 million grant and started to renovate it. In 1982, the city of Memphis recommended that the redevelopment corporation hire a management company to assist in the development to secure new tenants, collect rent, and handling certain maintenance. Each lease had to be developed and agreed upon by the development corporation, the city of Memphis, and the new management company. Day-to-day management of Beale Street was turned over to the city of Memphis in October of 2012, and has been looked over ever since. Now, Beale Street has some amazing places, and they do some amazing festivals, including the first weekend in May, sometimes late April, kind of depends on how it falls. And they have the Beale Street Music Festival. Now, this is a really cool festival, and it really does bring major music acts. It's a 3-day festival, and it has some big names in local music, and it's held in the city's Tom Lee Park at the end of Beale Street. And it's really kind of like the kickoff event to the entire Memphis in May International Festival celebration. And what better way to kick it off than at Beale Street, one of the best known places in Memphis. And it is the only thing that has been held every year in Memphis since 1977. And really, the history can be traced back to the 1800s, where musicians would be played throughout the South and come to Beale Street to perform. And it has really brought in some major musicians. Just to name a few, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Ray Charles, and B.B. King played in 1991. Let's see. You get some local stars like Fuel in 2004. Saliva played in 2004. Willie Nelson, Leonard Skinner played in 2009. Isaac Hayes actually played in 2000. You've got big names like the Black Crowes, Dave Matthews Band, Foo Fighters, Kid Rock, John Mayer, Journey, Nelly, Santana, Kings of Leon, they all played in 17. Paramore came from Nashville, because, why wouldn't they, in 2015. Apparently Soundgarden played there at one point, which I would have loved to have seen that. You got Earth, Wind, and Fire at some point. You've even got 3-6 Mafia. And so they really have, like, some really cool mixes of different bands and of local, from Tennessee, not from Tennessee, and then, more iconic. And it's really cool because, they also do where they recognize a different country each year to kind of, make it international as well as local. And I think that's really cool. And they did pick a different country each year. 2023, they picked Malaysia. And they've picked countries like Costa Rica, Japan, Ireland, Poland, and it's different each year. And I think that's really cool that they have done this. They did hold off in 2020 due to COVID. But it has been each year ever since. So, but I think everything got postponed in 2020 due to COVID. They also did, in 2017, the World Championship Barbecue Cook-Off was there in 2017, which that's kind of cool. They also do a couple food events at this festival. And they do have a competition. Usually if they do the barbecue one, it's the 3 main categories. So they do a rib, a shoulder, and a whole hog, which that's got to be insane to see. Of course, there's a marathon, that like a half marathon and a 5K that goes with it. So, it really does kind of get together with the Memphis in May, and it really does kind of get the kickoff with the Beale Street Music Festival to really incorporate not only Beale Street, but Memphis as a whole. And I think it's great that they use that as, their kickoff, because Beale Street really is the most well-known part of Memphis. Let's face it. I'll say it. And then some of the things that you can really find on Beale Street, of course, there's a Hard Rock. I think there's a Hard Rock everywhere now. And then, of course, there's some different well-known places. A couple blues halls, some historic theaters, a couple of really good hotels, and some honky-tonks. I forgot King Jerry Lawler's Hall of Fame Bar and Grill is on Beale Street. I'm sorry, I just laugh at that. I don't know why. There's a Coyote Ugly. There's a BB King's Blues Club, which that definitely deserves to be on Beale Street. And so, you can really find Beale Street holding to its roots with its music and its food. And if you haven't walked this little, I think it's like 1.8 miles or 2 miles of this street, the next time you're in Memphis, go. Stay right off of it. But definitely you need to go. And it is definitely mentioned in a ton of musical references, and it is used in a ton of just media, because it is so well known. But you definitely need to check out Memphis, and you definitely need to check out Beale Street, especially if you're such a huge fan of blues. And blues has so much to do with music. You'd be surprised how much it impacts music to this day. So the next time you're in Tennessee and you want to do something fun, you want to go somewhere different, definitely hit up Memphis. Not all of Memphis. Pick your parts of Memphis carefully. Trust me, I'll explain that why in my Memphis episode. But when you do go to Memphis, definitely hit up Beale Street and definitely learn about the history. Take in the history, take in the music, take in the food. But enjoy that little 2-mile walk, and just enjoy it, guys. I promise. It's definitely an experience. Hope you guys have a great month. I'll see you in a couple weeks. I'm hoping to get these back down to every 2 weeks. We're still working on that. Trying to figure out exactly what we're doing with this podcast. I'm happy to have it back. I'm happy to bring it back. Just figuring out what you guys want. Again, don't forget to check out the social media pages. If you have a second, please review this on Apple. Give it 5 stars and leave a comment. It helps others to find this. Also on Spotify, don't forget to subscribe, follow, and rate it 5 stars. Again, I'm happy to be part of the Unfiltered Studios podcast. If you have not checked out Unfiltered Studios, definitely go check it out. There's some amazing podcasters and people over there if you're looking for a new podcast to listen to. There's pretty much something for everyone over there, guys. All right, guys, I'll see you in a couple weeks. And don't forget to stay country.
This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.